James, when might you expect Andrew Nelson to be able to play again, and will Brandon Bell and Grant Haley play this week?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that we have the possibility of all three. I think Grant and Brandon, we feel pretty good about that we'll have those guys, and those guys will be significant additions for us. Grant would be really important for us. He was fantastic last year as a gunner on punt team, and that would be huge for us this week, having him available in that role. And then obviously, as we all know, with our depth and our confidence continuing to grow on the offensive line, being able to have Nelly available would be great for us as well. Played a bunch of young guys at linebacker, so having Brandon back, also Brandon being from New Jersey. So I can't give you specific dates. I don't get into those things anyway, and that's really up to our training staff and our doctors to make those decisions anyway.
Derek LeVar, Wilkes-Barre Times leader.
Hi, James. Good afternoon.
Hi, Derek.
Since last year, when you had to shuffle things around on the O-line, you moved Mangiero out to right tackle. Last week was Brendan Mann. What went into that decision this time around, and how do you think Brendan handled the switch?
Well, I think a couple things. I think we didn't have Wendy completely available the last couple of weeks. I think I mentioned that to you guys before, so I think that factored into it. I think the other thing is, you could make the argument, your tackles are very important to what you're doing offensively, but your center is the quarterback of the offensive line, and Angelo has a calming effect on the entire group. The fact that he's right there in the middle, he's able to communicate, he's able to take charge, he's able to lead, and be a real vocal presence in there. So I think that's the biggest thing, having the one senior on our offensive line be at center. We thought was valuable to do that. Mann's played some at tackle before. We felt like he'd be able to do it and get Paris back in there. And I thought those guys played pretty good. I think having Wendy back, full go this week provides a little bit more flexibility for us. But I think we feel good about that unit. We just got to continue getting those five playing together for a significant amount of times to build the type of chemistry and cohesion that we want.
Janarian Grant, the return specialist for Rutgers. What have you done in the past when when you're playing against a guy like that? How do you game plan against a guy who can hurt you in the return game so much?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, if you're doing the things, the way I think, or the way we think things should be done in terms of techniques and fundamentals, it should take care of itself. And I think you have to be careful because you make a big deal out of it, and you're going to have the opposite effect. So I think the biggest thing is we look at it as a tremendous challenge. It's exciting when a great player comes in and you have an opportunity to, maybe do some things to make sure he doesn't have a big impact in the game. So we're going to basically continue doing the things that we're doing. And emphasize the things that we think are important, and there's some areas that we need to do better in terms of our punt location and hang time, which hasn't been up to our standards at this point. That's something that's going to be really, really important. These are the type of guys that when you aren't good in terms of your fundamentals or techniques, they can hurt you and hurt you in a big way. So we're just going to continue to focus and emphasize those things. He's a unique guy because some guys have speed and they can make you miss, but maybe they're not the biggest or strongest guy. This guy breaks tackles. He's able to make you miss, and he's got the ability to run away, and score. So he's a threat. There's no doubt about it.
On your punting, Pasquarello's averaging 39 yards, which would look okay, but you're 96th in the country in net punting. So what are some of the issues with location, hang time, those kinds of things that you talked about Saturday?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We want 40 yards, we want a 4.0 hang time, and we want the location that we're looking for. We're not getting that right now. To me, you could probably live with 2 out of the 3. You'd like all 3. You'd like the distance, you'd like the hang time, and you'd like the location. Right now, we're not getting the hang time or the location, which is really stressing our coverage units. When you have to cover 53 1/3, with probably, you can make the argument one of the better athletes on the field usually back there returning the punts, you're causing stress on everybody. And then you're also putting our defense in a tough spot when it comes to field position. So we got to consistently punt the ball for the distance and the hang time, and then we need to get the location more times than not. That needs to happen. I make the argument, I'd rather you punt it 37 yards out of bounds than 50 yards with no hang time down the middle of the field. And that's what we need to do.
Hey, last year Rutgers played a lot of man coverage against you guys. Are you concerned about seeing that same thing again this year, trying to commit people towards the run?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a similar game plan we saw last year. I think we're going to see a similar game plan that we saw against Temple. I think you're going to see cover 2 to help with the corners, the young corners that they're playing, and then I think you're going to see load the box, blitz, try to cause confusion with our offensive line. I think it's going to be those two things. It's going to be coverage, cover 2, protect the corners, or protect the corners by blitzing like crazy to try to get the ball out of the quarterback's hand quickly. The thing that's a little bit different right now is, compared to game 1 and compared to our game against them last year, is our threat to run the ball more effectively. Those blitzes are disruptive, but being able to run the ball and crease them, you have an opportunity for big plays as well. That's also where our willingness to run the ball more, I think, helped us last week, not just on normal downs, but in the red zone and third down as well. I think that was a big factor in being able to protect our quarterback. Not only running the ball, but running the ball in different situations.
Hey, Coach.